Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Randy. Thanks for joining me today on the Black Orchid Project. Of course, I hope you guys are all doing well. Listen, here in the United States, we are headed, or I might say most of the United States, we are headed into bloom season. And so in this video, I want to touch bases with you on the whens, wheres, and hows to get your plant to throw a spike. All right, so if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And of course, thank you to all my T-Bops. That is the Black Orchid Project squad. I know you guys are always going to show up, check out the videos, comment, and things like that. If you haven't done so yet, please go on and hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you can be notified of new content. And at the end of this video, if you get something out of it and you like it, go on and hit that thumbs up, simply because it tells YouTube that I am giving you content that you like, and they will push it out to others. And in that note, go on and tell some friends too. All right, so I know this may seem a little odd, but we are going to start off with the where. And what I mean by where is, where will the spike come from on your plant? If your plant is not set up at this moment for the spike to come out in the right place, then you're not going to get a spike. And I think by knowing that, you won't be disappointed if you don't get a spike this year. It's always disappointing not to get a spike, but again, if it's not set up to get a spike, then you know it, and then you can just either buy one for show and know that it's probably going to be a year or so before you might get a spike, or you can do the things that it takes to get your plant to the point where you might get a spike. So let's talk about that real quick. Now, you're going to get a spike from two places, one of two places usually, or really sometimes two of two places. But let's just say your plant went through bloom and you decided not to cut the stem or the old spike, and it didn't die back on its own. There is a chance that you can get a spike from one of the nodes. So if you look here along the way, you'll see little sheaths and there'll be little nodes. There's a chance you might get a spike from one of these nodes. That's why some people don't cut their spikes, because they believe it's easier to get a spike from a secondary spike. Let's call that a secondary spike from one of the nodes. So I'm going to show you here on Miss Viola. This is Miss Viola. You guys know Miss Viola. She's kind of the star of the channel right now. And as you can see, I'm going to take this off. That is Viola's first spike. That was the spike that she had when I got her. It was out here, and she had blooms, and then those blooms dropped. It died. Her spike died back just a little bit, and she threw a new spike from this node right here. So this is a secondary spike off this primary spike. Now, so that's that. Now, next thing is you can get a spike from inside the leaf here. That is a new spike. As you can see, I had this was a double spike. I haven't cut these off, and the reason why is because I forgot what plant this is. It's no tag, but I believe I took a picture of this plant, so I'm trying to go back through videos and plants to try to identify this, so I'll know at least what the blooms will look like. So I kept these on just so I can kind of identify it. They died off. I haven't cut them, and as you can see, like I said, there is a new spike coming here. Now, of course, one of the main things you want to do is to make sure that your plant is healthy. Now, I know this one doesn't look the healthiest, but this is basically from me accidentally letting it touch the window here in hot Texas in the summer. And so this didn't do it by itself. These are just, it got mad at me for letting it touch the window, and that is 100% my fault. But you can see it is still healthy. There's actually a little leaf that started before the bloom started. And one thing I want to touch on really fast, and I'm just going to let you guys know, I'm probably going to get a little long-winded in this, but this is on the Black Orchid channel, so I know you guys are here for information. I want to try to give you as much information as I can. As you can see, this plant is still inside the nursery pot. It's still in 100% sphagnum moss that you would probably look at and go, oh my God, it's gross. I really need to get it out of here. The spikes have died off. the leaves are gone, but look at these healthy roots and look at this spike. So I say that to say, so many of you guys come to me and say, I got my plant, I got it from, the store, the hardware store, the grocery store, and I watched your videos, and I need to get it repotted immediately? No, if your plant is healthy and is not just root bound, and you can tell it hasn't been sitting in water and got mushy old roots, then you might not need to repot your plant. And that's just time, effort, and stress avoided by just letting it be. A lot of times I am into just letting it be. So, you can evaluate, and a lot of times that's why I say, send me a picture. Let me see a picture of it, and I'll tell you if I feel like it needs to be repotted or not. Now, like I said, I didn't get around to repotting this, and it's going to thrive, and it's going to be fine. So you don't always need to repot. And so anyway, let's move on. Now, back to the where. Where will you get a new spike? So I'm going to show you some close-ups here. And so what happens is you'll usually have a spike layer between, so you have a leaf, and you'll have spikes. And where your spikes were, where your original spikes were, you're going to have the second leaf, you're going to have another leaf come out. Now you won't get a spike from that next layer of leaves. That's where you're going to get your roots. Your roots are going to come from that layer. So that's going to be a root layer, and you might get 1 to 2 root layers. So this is a root layer, and this is another layer of leaves here, and then we have another leaf coming off here. So the way this is going is, this is the first leaf, this is the second leaf, this is the third leaf, this is the fourth leaf. So under this first leaf, we have our spike. Now under this leaf, we have our roots. And then we have another one, this one, and more roots will come out of there, and then we have our spike. So I say all that to say, sorry, like I said, it's long-winded, but you're going to get a spike, or if you're going to get a spike, it's going to be at least 2 to 3 leaves up from your last spike. So like I said, spike, root, spike. So if you had your plant, let's say you had your plant and you got the spikes and you cut the spike off or it died off, and you only have 1 leaf that's come out ever since that last bloom, then more than likely you're not going to get a spike. So again, that's why I'm doing this, so you're not disappointed thinking that you can get a spike and you can't. Now, what could happen is if you really take care of the plant, fertilize it really well, take care of it really well, by the end of growth season, there is a chance that you can get 2 more leaves to come out and you might get a spike. So like I said, that was the first thing I want to touch on, is the where. Where can I get a spike? Recap, you can get one off of the node here on a spike that's still alive, or you're going to get a new spike that's at least 2 to 3 leaves up from your last spike. All right, so let's get to the what and how. And I'm going to kind of combine those because I believe they are intertwined, and instead of separating them and just having one little thing on the how, I'm going to combine those two so you better understand what and how gets your plant to spike. Now you know that it's set up to spike. So first and foremost, I like to make a disclaimer. I am not a botanist. I am not a horticulturist. I basically just have experience with orchids over like the last 10 years, and there are a lot more professionals out there. So if somebody else tells you that has some credentials or they do this more than me, then you might want to listen to them. I'm just going by my experience, and especially, let me say this, I'm going by my experience here in Texas. Now, ever since I've been doing orchids, it's been in Texas. I didn't do them in California where I live there, and it's a little bit different, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But there is a debate. Is it light? Is it temperature? Things like that. And so for me, I found it has to do with temperature, not light. Some people say, well, when the daylight change, it'll activate the plants. But what I have found for me, again, here in Texas, is that it's temperature. Now, I want you to listen to this very closely, and I am going to put up a little chart to better help you understand it. What I have found is that when there is a 20-degree fluctuation, 20-degree fluctuation in temps between day and night, and the high of the day is around 85, no more than 90, and the low is below 65, usually around 60, then you're going to get your plants. Your plants will start to go, oh, it's spike season. So again, 20 degree difference day to night, high of about 85 to 90, low of 65, 60, something like that. So like I said, with this chart I'm getting ready to show you, you'll see, so it'll be like, 77 and then 55 at night. And that is what triggers your plant to spike. So that is what I found. Now, like I said, here in Texas, we are going into those times of the year right now. I really believe like we hit that here about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I really believe that's what caused this to spike. This is my first spike of the year, what I consider my first real spike. Everything else like this one, I look at it as a respike, but this is, I believe, is the first real spike because it's actually putting out a new spike, and it does take certain conditions for the plant to do this. A lot of times this is just, I'm not going to say survival, but it'll drop its plants and it's like, oh, I'm just going to keep blooming, keep blooming. This is a true new spike. So this was the first one. That's what made me decide to make the video. But yeah, so those are the temps that you want. Now that is going to last here all the way until probably April or May. So there's times I won't get a spike until April or May on some plants. And that's why I said if you start now, let's just say you have one leaf, another leaf comes out next month, it grows out, you get another leaf, that third leaf, and then next thing you know, about April or May, you might get a spike. So that's why I'm saying keep your hopes up that you'll get the conditions and you'll get the places or the where for your plant to spike. So yeah, that's where I am with that as far as the temperature. And now, I guess this still, again, it goes into the how. And so first and foremost, of course, you want your plant to be healthy. Now, I know, I got a lot of what's called unhealthy looking plants. If you guys know Viola, you know Viola is thriving. She looks bad, but she's thriving. Matter of fact, I just did a update on her. So look for that because I explained what's going on with the yellow leaves and, the spike and all that. Now, again, like I said, this one doesn't look the healthiest, but it's in pretty good condition. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that our plant is healthy and not too stressed, and that way it'll decide it's going to throw out a bloom. Now, to get those fluctuations in your house without some special setup, what you want to do is get your plants as close to the windows as you can. My plants basically sit on the windowsill, hence it got too close to the window. They sit on the windowsill, and that way they get to feel the fluctuations from the windowsill. If the plant is sitting, let's say back here on the island, it's not going to get those fluctuations. So one of the most asked questions I get, or one of the frustrations I find the most, is people say, I've had this plant for 2-3 years or 10 years, I've never got it to rebloom. Or they'll say, I have plants and I've never got an orchid to rebloom. And usually I'll say, where do you keep it? And they'll most likely reply, I keep it on my coffee table, or I keep it on the mantle, or I keep it, and I'll say, well, how far is it from the window? And they say, well, it's not really close to the window. The reason why is that we live in, basically air-conditioned places, central air and heating. We have, climate control, I might say. And so that space is really not fluctuating no more than probably 8 to 10 degrees at any time during the day. And so that way, there's not enough fluctuation to trigger it to spike. So that means what I'd like for you to do is find a place that you can put your plant close to the window so it starts to feel the fluctuations, and it will start to see the different lighting conditions, and it will trigger it to spike. Now, I come from the bonsai world. I never got really good at it, but I did love bonsai, and I learned a lot about bonsai. And the one thing that you learn immediately about bonsai is to show bonsai, or bonsai, you might say, um, it's not something you get to keep on your let's say coffee table at all times or on your entry table. If you are really into bonsai, you grow it outside and it stays outside because it's kind of a little tree. When guests come over or you want to show it, you bring it in the house at that point. And when it's time for the people to leave, it goes back outside. I say that to say this about your orchids. I know you want this nice, pretty plant to sit where you want it in your house. But in order to get your display, you need to put it in the window, you know, kind of maybe not in the ideal place that you want it. And then once it throws up its spike, like seriously, once it throws this spike, I'll usually wait for it to get a little longer. You can take it and put it in your favorite place because it just takes the activation of that spike for that spike to continue to grow, throw out its buds, and then bloom. And that from that point on, it can stay in the place that you want it to. But until then, it needs to be in the places that that's ideal for it to throw a spike. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. It's gotten a lot longer than I like, but I believe you guys as black orchid project people, but as orchid people, you want the information. You can deal with a little bit longer video than I usually put on the other channel. And so I want you to have more information. I want you to understand the whys more so than just telling you. It's like the old teaching somebody to fish analogy. I'd rather you know why we're doing what we're doing so you can move it over into other things. And so if I missed something, and I'm pretty sure I did, just go on and leave a comment and I will get back to you. It's been taking me a little bit longer to get to YouTube comments lately, but I will try to get back to you. If you would like to join me over on Patreon, I do have a Patreon. That's where you can support me, you can support the channel, and I call them the T-Bops. Everybody, you guys know who you are, my Black Orchid Project Squad. There you can send me comments. I will answer them faster. They have priority to the question answering, things like that. If you have a problem, you can join me over there. It's not very expensive. It's like $3 a month. And I also do a plant giveaway every month. I send out samples. I'm working on some bark, a new bark mix. And so all my T-Bops are going to get bark mix samples. So I try to give back to you in small ways just for supporting me if you want to. And like I said, it's better I answer more questions and things like that over there. So again, I'm going to wrap this up. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and I would just want to remind you, if nothing else, just hit the thumbs up. That's a very small thing to do, but again, it tells YouTube that I'm giving you content you want. So that is going to do it. Again, sorry for being long-winded, and as always, be safe. More importantly, be kind. Never give up on them. And until next time, peace.